It's not connected, I think. It's not connected, is it not?
Should be on.
So,
with or without your, I would say, your devotion, which I have no qualms with Muhammad.
How do you connect with God? Do you not
It's a great
need?
question. Very personal.
Yeah. So how do you establish God is communicating to you? I mean, why are you so special and not her, or not me, or not him? That God needs to communicate
Everybody's
directly.
special.
Do you think God communicates to us directly, telling us what to do and not? Or he sent prophets and messengers?
I believe God has a personal relationship with each one of us. So I don't think I need to know more than that.
So if somebody says abortion is wrong, or somebody says abortion is right, how would you know whether this is something sanctioned by our Creator? I'll just give you an arbitrary example.
Well, presumably one has, and maybe you have one, the religious text, and people from, let's say, a prophet or from God himself, and people interpret that text.
But if we were to say personal relationship, imagine the personal relationship I have with God and says, you know what, you should only listen to people who are smart and not listen to and bother about people who are not that smart.
I learn from everyone.
Yeah, but if somebody says you shouldn't, because that's what God says.
Why would I listen to that person?
That's the point I'm making. So personal revelation that you receive from God is not an arbitrator for everyone. It cannot be. Because you can believe...
Well, I don't ask for personal... I never said personal revelation from God.
Okay, so how do we know right and wrong? I mean, how do we know what is right and what is wrong?
Presumably you have a religious text.
Okay.
Either from a prophet or from God himself.
Yeah, so that's what we believe. Prophet has been sent with a text.
I have no issue with you believing it.
Yeah, but about yourself, if that
I'm
was
very
from...
comfortable with my relationship with God.
Fine. But I'm saying, if that was from God, a last guidance from God, and
So
you don't
say
accept
you.
it.
So say you.
Correct. And you don't look into it, assess it, and then you verify it, meaning accept or reject it, then in the day of judgment, if God asks you, I sent my final guidance with my final prophet Muhammad, the Quran being the final guidance, you didn't look into it, you didn't then confirm it was from myself or not, and you kept on being happy with what you had, do you think that would be a justifiable excuse in the day of judgment of not following his final guidance?
I absolutely 100% agree that if that were the final word of God for people like you, and for people not like me, that they should look into that. And if I needed that as a final word of God, then I should look into that.
Why should it be only for me? It shouldn't be for everyone, right?
A universalist faith, such as Islam or Christianity, requires this acceptance from everybody. The salvation is through, say, the final word of Muhammad, or for Christians, another word.
Yeah.
Other faiths believe in salvation in a more particularist manner.
What is your
I'm
particular
just letting
faith?
you know there are differences between universalists
There
faith and Islam.
Yeah.
Is clearly one, and I think that's great. It requires it be for everyone, and not faiths for everyone.
Why do you not find that appealing? And you find a particular...
It's just not for me because I have a particularist faith, so which is great. It just means my faith. See, the difference in this conversation, it's quite one-sided in some respects. Because my faith would never seek to impose its faith on someone else, because you don't need my faith to become a believer in God and find salvation. I perfectly think that if you have a relationship with God and are a good person, even through your faith, of course you can go to heaven. You don't need to believe in my faith, so I would never share it with you. It serves me no purpose, and I don't need it because I have my faith.
Is your faith endorsed?
This is sort of a one-way attempt to convert, which is fine.
No, I'm simply trying to learn.
And I'm trying to give you some practice, which is helpful. But I need you to understand, a universalist faith is very different because a universalist faith requires of everyone that they accept or else. A particularist faith only requires of its believers, and anyone can accept God as they wish, and they can still get to heaven. Meaning, I get to smile upon you and look at you as a man or woman, if the case may be, who gets to go to heaven, regardless.
No, I understand that. I understand.
However, when you look at me,
Look.
I see something different in your eyes. I see what you just said.
What do you
I
see?
see what you just said. What you just said is that's what you're going to be judging, that I didn't accept your universalist faith, which is fine. It's just Christianity and Islam practice universalist faiths generally, and they require that of everyone. My faith isn't that, so I don't require anything of you. And guess what? You still get to go to heaven. I still get to look at you as a loved person who gets to heaven without changing you one bit.
All I'm trying to understand is, when you have a particular faith that you have, particularist faith, is this endorsed by the Creator God?
Of course.
And how do you know that?
I mean, that has to do with me and my faith, which is not necessarily for me to share with you. Because
You don't have to share. But how are you convinced that your particularist faith is what God has endorsed for you to have and live by?
I would just say an unbroken tradition.
Unbroken tradition. Can our unbroken tradition be faulty and wrong? You can have an unbroken tradition of people, our forefathers, who are on the wrong path.
I presume one such thing is possible. It's not what I believe.
Yeah, so it is possible that people who follow, in fact, this is what the Quran says, there are people who follow the religion of their forefathers, even if they're wrong. Quran reprimanding it. So if you keep on following a particular tradition, that tradition could also be based on the wrong path. What are we as a intellectual, rational, reasonable human beings, smart individual like yourself, trying to set up criteria to assess and verify that our particular faith is not just following a tradition blindly, but accepting it with proof and evidence?
So if the question is there also proof and evidence for my faith beyond the unbroken tradition? I would say yes. So, but I don't need to prove that to you. I just believe that is an article of faith. And I have it, and I'm perfectly comfortable with it.
Yeah, fine.
The beauty of it is because it's particularized. I don't have to convert anyone.
It's not about converting.
It doesn't matter. I don't have to convince anyone.
Yeah.
You get to go to heaven regardless of what I believe, because I'm happy for everyone to have a relationship with God, however they wish. It sounds like you have a great way, and you want to bring other people close to it, and I applaud you.
Yeah, but is it possible the path that you've taken is not endorsed by God?
Not my path, but it's possible there are paths, but not mine.
No, your path.
No, the answer to that's clearly no.
Yeah, so your particular stance, which are so strong in your assertion, has to be based on a solid foundation. What is that solid foundation that gives you the confidence that your path is exactly that it's endorsed by God? I'm not asking you to convert me, but you can actually say, these are the things that convinces me of my path.
We've spoken about several of them. If you have more to suggest, I'm happy to add to my foundation.
What are the convincing ones from the Creator?
One would say
objective
from the Creator, unbroken tradition, evidence, and things that a rational mind can use to assess the truth and correctness of the path. So those things.
Yeah. So what evidence within?
Well, I don't need to prove my faith to you, do I?
No, it's not proving to me.
No, I don't need. Right, that's good.
It's just sharing to me the basis of your strong.
You gain nothing from it. So I would do it. I would do it if I thought you could gain from it, but you can't because you already.
What I'm saying is,
you already have a relationship with God, and you get to go to heaven. Why would you gain from me?
It's not gaining. It's not me gaining it.
Why do you need? Let me ask this a better question. Why do you gain? Why do you gain?
Because in my understanding, what God has endorsed, clearly you are not on the right path. So all I'm trying to do is
saying that you're trying to help me, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
You're trying to help me go to heaven in whatever version of
correct,
you have.
but not by forcing you, by trying to understand you and showing you from your own particular rationalization whether this rationalization is faulty.
It's a particularist faith. I didn't call it a particularist rationalization. Those are your words. So I have an understanding. This is a great conversation because it shows, listen, you're really out there trying to help people. You're trying to help people get to heaven. I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't need it, and I absolutely appreciate it. You're absolutely barking up the wrong tree, which is fine.
No,
but I love the love. I love the love.
You're closing.
What we got here is love.
You're closing the gate in which you're not in any way thinking that possibly I can be wrong.
I'm not going down. You're trying to help me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I get the love that's coming this way. I appreciate it.
What's your name? What's your name?
I don't need it. I already think you're going to heaven, so I don't. I already have such an acceptance. He's an acceptance of his acceptance of one God and a relationship with God, and basically a good person to other people. I mean, these are the basic rules. I get really 7 rules for you. I doubt you eat the limb of a live animal. You accept no adultery. You have a system of laws. I know the 7 rules. You follow them. You're a great person. You're going to go to heaven. I'm happy for you.
Okay. Do you know the consequences of rejecting a messenger of God?
I have read of such things.
Yeah. So I want you to
explore I might know them personally
from a
very
particularist viewpoint. If you think that you are happy with and you will have salvation, but what if your rejection of a messenger of God and God has sent to be followed, that consequences, you should not put it lightly. You should think and say, look, what if my path is wrong? And that's why I'm saying perhaps we can share your particular rationalization or evidence base of your faith and see whether I'm able to show you something in which you can think again. That actually this may not be true based on the position you've taken.
The beauty of it is, and again, this is what makes it such a wonderfully one-sided conversation, is you want me to think again because you want to help me. And I get that. I don't want you to think again. I think you're great. I think you're going to heaven. So I don't need, so it's not really that helpful. I get what you're trying to do, and I want that for you with the right people, because I think you'll help a lot of people.
But you're not thinking about your own self?
I think about my own self in a particularist manner, in a particular faith, with the devotion, and I face plenty of consequences.
Sure.
I think about it all the time.
Think about this way.
So I feel good.
Think about this way. If there is one
I feel
creator,
good with already the things I'm doing wrong.
Right. Now think about this way. If there is only one God, this one God is not going to tell people things which are different and contradictory. Your particularization of a faith, particularist faith, and universalist faith is contradictory.
But that's true. Then he clearly isn't telling both the Muslims and the Christians for their 2 universalist faiths 2 different things.
Both cannot be true.
Otherwise, maybe they're both wrong.
Both cannot be true.
Maybe they're both wrong. Or why would God be telling them different things? So it's fine. Maybe if you're a universalist.
Yeah. So
maybe you do if you're a universalist. I agree with that.
Your thinking is correct. Maybe all of them are wrong. That's why
not
we need
mine,
to.
But maybe.
No. Why not yours?
Because that's not really the way our tradition works. So.
It's not about tradition. Like imagine, if there is only one God.
You mean it's not about tradition? Excuse me, it's not about tradition? Did I just hear this correctly?
Yeah.
It's not about tradition?
It's not.
I know you have a prophet you believe in and that you listen to. And I presume that there are traditions on how that is interpreted. Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong about that?
I will tell you what I mean.
Am I wrong about that?
I will answer that question.
I want an answer. Am I wrong about that? Yes or no?
I am saying
it's a yes or no question.
You are really not interested.
Honestly, fairly, openly, with love. Now I'm asking you to answer my one simple yes or no question. Am I wrong about that?
I will explain what I mean. I
just want a yes or no first. Then
not every question has a yes or no answer.
I think we have the answer. If you can't answer yes or no to am I wrong?
Every question doesn't have a yes or no.
It doesn't. Am I wrong?
No.
Can you explain after?
No. He has to answer first.
Okay, ask your question again.
Am I wrong that let's say after the information is brought down from a messenger or a prophet, that there are no traditions that from how that was translated to now?
No, there are traditions. But my point is, traditions. Look, that's why
I'm not wrong. So traditions are important.
No,
traditions are important.
No, they are important. I didn't say. No.
They were not important.
Look,
so that's very important. This is very important.
You misunderstood what I'm saying.
I'm elevating you, and you are denigrating me.
No, I'm not.
And I don't mind standing.
No, I'm not. No, hear me out.
I'm not trying to convert anybody. I just want respect.
No.
The same respect that I offer you.
With all due respect, what I'm saying is, our traditions are no arbitrator of truth, because there are different traditions from different faith communities. If you put the same equal value and validity, so a Hindu tradition which worships many gods is equally valid as a Christian tradition which worships a Trinitarian God. They cannot be equally valid. That's my point. Traditions are important, but we have to assess each tradition on their own merit. The Quran exactly points to that. Your traditions of following your forefathers, they may be wrong. Like they were worshipping idols, many gods. So the Quran is saying, no, just because you are following a particular path of traditions, it's not necessarily the truth and only valid
I will
truth.
shake your hands on the traditions that do
Important,
not, traditions,
but not necessarily the truth.
Traditions that are honoring many gods are not the ones that I follow.
So we
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Anyway, you take care.